Right now, there are trillions of tiny cells moving through your body at insane speeds. You can't feel them. You can't see them. Most people never even think about them. But if they stopped working for even a few minutes, your brain would start shutting down. Your muscles would fail. You'd lose consciousness. And the weird part is, these cells are working every second of your life without asking for attention. They're called red blood cells, and honestly, they might be some of the hardest working things in the entire human body. Most people hear red blood cells carry oxygen in school and then never think about it again. But when you actually stop and look at what these cells are doing, it gets kind of ridiculous. Your body is basically running a non-stop transportation network 24 hours a day. Red blood cells are like microscopic delivery drivers constantly racing through your bloodstream, carrying oxygen everywhere it needs to go. And your body is producing around 2 million of these cells every single second. Not every day, every second. Which sounds less like biology and more like some giant industrial factory hidden inside your bones. Because that's actually where many red blood cells are made, inside your bone marrow. Right now, deep in your skeleton, your body is constantly producing fresh blood cells while older ones die off and get recycled. The average red blood cell only survives for about 4 months before it wears out, so your body basically has to keep replacing them forever. Imagine having a job where millions of workers quit every second and you still somehow keep the system running perfectly. That's basically what your body is doing right now without you noticing. And these cells are weirdly specialized too. Most cells in your body have a nucleus, which is basically the control center of the cell. Red blood cells get rid of theirs. They literally sacrifice their nucleus just to make more room for hemoglobin, the protein that carries oxygen. So these cells basically give up part of themselves to become better oxygen carriers. Human biology does stuff like this all the time. It's incredibly efficient, but also slightly terrifying when you think about it too long. Even their shape is engineered in a strange way. Red blood cells aren't just round balls floating around in your blood. They're shaped more like tiny, flexible discs with dents in the middle. That shape helps them carry oxygen more efficiently and also lets them squeeze through extremely tiny blood vessels. Some capillaries are actually narrower than the blood cells themselves, so the cells literally bend and fold to get through. Imagine forcing a soft rubber donut through a tunnel smaller than the donut. That's happening inside your body constantly. And the craziest part is that this entire system is happening silently while people are doing completely normal things. Someone could be sitting on their couch scrolling through social media while trillions of microscopic cells are rushing through their bloodstream trying to keep every organ alive. Humans are honestly kind of absurd when you zoom in close enough. One of the reasons oxygen matters so much is because your cells are constantly using it to produce energy, especially your brain. The human brain uses an unbelievable amount of energy for something that mostly sits there thinking about random stuff at 2 a.m. Even though the brain only makes up a small percentage of body weight, it consumes huge amounts of oxygen. Your thoughts are expensive. Memory is expensive. Consciousness is expensive. Your brain is basically a very demanding organ that constantly needs fuel delivered to it every second. That's part of why people feel horrible when oxygen delivery drops. Think about what it feels like after sprinting upstairs too fast. Your chest feels heavy, breathing changes, maybe your legs burn, and suddenly you become extremely aware of your lungs. That's your body trying to keep up with oxygen demand. During exercise, your muscles suddenly start demanding way more energy, so your circulatory system has to respond immediately. Heart rate increases. Breathing speeds up. Blood vessels expand. Red blood cells start delivering oxygen faster to active tissues. The body becomes incredibly reactive under physical stress. Honestly, humans are basically oxygen processing machines pretending to be emotionally stable. Athletes understand this really well because endurance depends heavily on oxygen delivery. The better your body becomes at transporting and using oxygen, the longer muscles can keep working before fatigue sets in. This is also why altitude feels so brutal for people who aren't used to it. At high elevations, there's less oxygen available in the air. Your body notices almost immediately. People get tired faster. Breathing feels different. Some people get headaches or dizziness. But then something interesting happens. Your body starts adapting. Over time, it increases red blood cell production to help carry more oxygen. Basically, your body goes, all right, there's less oxygen now, so we need more delivery workers. Human biology is constantly adapting to environments, whether people realize it or not. And honestly, modern environments are pretty weird compared to what humans evolved in. Most people now spend huge amounts of time indoors, sitting still under artificial light staring at screens. Which matters more than people think because circulation and oxygen delivery are heavily connected to movement. Humans evolved moving constantly, walking, climbing, lifting, carrying things, traveling long distances. Blood flow works best when the body moves regularly. Muscles actually help push blood through veins. Breathing patterns change circulation too. The body expects motion. It was built around it. This doesn't mean sitting down instantly destroys your health or anything dramatic like that. Human biology is more complicated than internet health culture makes it sound. But it does mean the circulatory system evolved under conditions that looked very different from modern office life. Another huge part of this system is iron. Hemoglobin, the protein inside red blood cells that binds oxygen, relies on iron to function properly. That's why iron deficiency can make people feel exhausted, weak, cold, dizzy, or mentally foggy. If your body can't produce healthy oxygen-carrying cells efficiently, energy production starts suffering. And this is where human biology gets really interesting because nothing operates alone. Blood affects oxygen. Oxygen affects energy. Energy affects the brain. The brain affects mood. Stress affects circulation. Sleep affects recovery. Digestion affects nutrient absorption. Everything is connected to everything else. The body is less like a machine with separate parts and more like controlled biological chaos somehow holding itself together. Sleep is another perfect example. Most people think sleep is just turning off, but biologically, sleep is extremely active. Your body is repairing tissue, regulating hormones, consolidating memories, cleaning metabolic waste from the brain, recalibrating the nervous system, and maintaining cardiovascular stability while you're unconscious. Throughout all of that, oxygen delivery still has to remain stable. Your red blood cells are still moving, your heart is still pumping, your lungs are still exchanging gases. Humans never really shut down completely. We just enter different biological states. And honestly, the more you learn about the body, the stranger normal life starts feeling. There's also something weirdly emotional about blood itself. Humans have always associated blood with life. Ancient cultures treated it almost like magic because they understood that losing too much blood meant death, even if they didn't understand circulation scientifically yet. In a way, they recognized something important. Blood really is life support. It carries oxygen, nutrients, hormones, immune cells, chemical signals, and waste products throughout the body. Red blood cells are just one part of that enormous system, but they're one of the most essential parts. Without circulation, the body's entire communication and energy network collapses. And the scale of it is honestly difficult to comprehend. Your heart beats around 100,000 times a day. Every beat pushes blood through an estimated 60,000 miles of blood vessels inside the body. 60,000 miles. That's enough to wrap around Earth multiple times. There's basically an entire hidden world of tunnels and movement inside you right now. And most people spend their entire lives barely thinking about it. One reason biology becomes boring in school is because it's often taught like memorization instead of storytelling. People memorize definitions without understanding how insane these systems actually are. But the human body is not boring. It's unbelievably dramatic. Tiny oxygen-carrying cells are squeezing through microscopic tunnels while electrically active neurons create thoughts and memories and emotions inside a conscious organism trying to survive modern life. That's objectively insane. Even emotions affect circulation. Anxiety changes breathing patterns. Fear increases heart rate. Stress changes blood vessel tension. Calmness slows certain physiological responses. Humans tend to think emotions are purely mental experiences, but emotions are deeply physical too. Your body responds to psychological stress biologically, which partly explains why chronic stress feels physically exhausting after a while. The nervous system changes circulation patterns, hormone levels, inflammation, sleep quality, and energy regulation. And modern stress is strange because humans evolved dealing mostly with short-term physical threats: a dangerous animal, a storm, conflict, immediate survival problems. But modern stress often never fully ends. Notifications, financial pressure, constant information, work overload, social comparison, artificial stimulation. The body still reacts physiologically, even when the threat is abstract. Again, that doesn't mean modern life is poison or some dramatic nonsense like that. Humans are adaptable, very adaptable. But it does mean ancient biological systems are now operating inside environments they didn't originally evolve for. And sometimes that creates strange side effects. One fascinating thing about red blood cells is that they don't even actively move themselves around. They are carried through the bloodstream by pressure created from the heart pumping blood continuously. And your heart is honestly one of the most overworked organs imaginable. It never fully rests. Ever. From the moment you're born until the moment you die, it just keeps beating. Quietly. Automatically. Thousands of times every hour. Pushing oxygen through your body over and over and over again. Humans adapt to this so completely that they stop noticing how bizarre it really is. Another interesting detail is that blood is actually what gives skin much of its color underneath the surface. Oxygen-rich blood tends to appear brighter red, while oxygen-poor blood becomes darker. This is why people can look pale when circulation changes or when oxygen delivery drops temporarily. Your appearance itself can shift depending on what's happening internally. The body constantly reveals clues about its condition, whether people recognize them or not. And honestly, the deeper you go into biology, the harder it becomes to separate systems from each other. Digestion influences blood chemistry. Sleep affects hormone balance. Stress changes circulation. Physical activity changes oxygen demand. The microbiome may even influence inflammation and cardiovascular function in ways researchers are still trying to fully understand. Human beings are ecosystems pretending to be individuals. Everything overlaps. Everything communicates. Everything responds. Which makes it kind of funny that modern culture often treats the body like separate, disconnected compartments. One pill for focus, another for sleep, another for energy, another for digestion. Meanwhile, the body itself operates as one giant interconnected network. Red blood cells are a perfect reminder of that interconnectedness because almost every major system depends on them in some way. Without oxygen delivery, nothing else really matters for very long. And maybe the strangest part of all this is how invisible it feels. Right now, while you're watching this, trillions of cells are still moving through your bloodstream, carrying oxygen to your brain so you can think, process language, recognize images, and stay conscious long enough to understand these words. An entire microscopic transportation system is operating silently inside you every second of your life. Most people will never actually see it happen. They'll just experience the result, being alive.